All right, so heavy is the head that wears the crown. And listen, the crown right now, it feels like the entire sports landscape is being worn by a female, and her name is Caitlin Clark. So, Jenks, we were kind of having this discussion. I think it was after yesterday's show, is that I kept having these thoughts, and one thing would lead to another, and I just keep going to another level. And it's like, my first thought was, I think Caitlin Clark is more marketable than just about any other NBA player. And I feel like she's the most marketable basketball player, men or women's side. And I said, that's not even that hot of a take, because I was watching the NBA finals and she had more commercials airing during game 5 of the NBA finals than any NBA player, which is a wild fact. Like, obviously we know she's supremely popular, but like if you zoom out and look at like the NBA versus the WNBA over the last 20 years, like this is a big deal. But then I got to the conclusion that I think she's in the conversation for one of the most marketable athletes in the world. Am I wrong?
No, I actually think you're spot on. Caitlin Clark has handled this perfectly from the outset. And the number one reason why is she never takes the bait. Think about it. Before she came out, you had all these WNBA players before her because they're angry, right? They set the stage. There have been incredible women's basketball players before Caitlin Clark. And so they're upset we're not getting the attention she's getting. It's not Caitlin's fault. She never took the bait, all right? Even with Angel Reese, all that surrounding them whenever they play against each other, when she's asked about it, she just takes the high road, doesn't take the bait. Last night we saw it again. She got poked in the eye. Someone comes and knocks her to the floor. She's upset. She just walked away. She was asked about it after the game. What did she say? Let's just keep it about basketball. She's had every opportunity to take the bait and say something, and she won't. What does that mean? It means she's more marketable because she's not taking a side. She's keeping it about basketball. I read this study, a guy named Ryan Brewer at Indiana University of Columbus, and he ran the numbers, and he says that this season, Clark's estimated economic impact on the WNBA by herself could be around $1 billion. And her game is only getting better. So when you stay very likable, we're getting to know her very slowly, and you keep it about basketball, and you're only going to get better, I think she's number one.
I think so too. And maybe I'm having like an America-centric view because maybe there's a soccer player I'm not thinking about. But think about how many people know who Caitlin Clark is. And I've noticed this when I do anything on social media regarding Caitlin Clark, is that people were commenting yesterday, they didn't know who SGA was, the reigning MVP of the NBA, but they know who Caitlin Clark is because she is such a figurehead of so many things. And I understand that marketability is a nuanced thing. It's not simply, hey, you're the best in your sport. There are other things that go into it. And I thought you put it perfectly, the way that Caitlin Clark has handled herself, the way that she is marketable to people, it feels like of all ages, unless you see some of the things she says on the court. She gets animated. But after the game, she keeps her composure, and she always is the bigger person, which I think people really appreciate. And here's the interesting part, and why I don't understand why some of these WNBA players are doing this, is that when you push her down and when you commit these flagrant fouls, you are making people like her more. Because once again, she's not going to take the bait and you look like the worst person. So I don't think that's even smart to do this to Caitlin Clark. I understand playing somebody physically because that's part gamesmanship and trying to win a basketball game. But I feel like these WNBA players, they got to figure it out because they are just making themselves look like the villain. But from a viewing perspective, every good show or series needs a heel. And I feel like the WNBA is providing plenty of those for Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, and you know what? They're hurting themselves, honestly. That's the crazy thing about it. Like, there's this line where you're being so petty. You're being so petty because you hate that she's getting all of this attention. Caitlin Clark didn't do anything last night. She got poked in the eye. If you poke anyone in the eye, guess what? They're going to be pretty unhappy with you. And then she shows how unhappy she is. She got knocked to the floor. Like, not only are you hurting her, I mean, physically, they've got to curtail this, but also you're going to eventually hurt your own earning power because you may not like it. and you might be petty about it, and you might be jealous about it. But ultimately, she's the one. She's the moneymaker. She's the one driving this attention for herself, for her team, and for this league. And that's a difficult thing, I think, for these players to reconcile. Like, I hate she's getting this attention. It just drives me crazy. I'm going to knock her to the ground. But also, why are people watching? Why are you guys getting fans that you've never gotten before? Whether you like it or not, whether it's fair or not, she is the reason.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are pointing to like jealousy as a factor, but it doesn't make sense because speaking, from a place of like the WNBA just didn't have the eyeballs. And, it's a place where the WNBA just doesn't have the salary level that some of these other men's sports have. So I think you need to step back and realize like a win for Caitlin Clark and marketability, and her brand power across the world is a win for females everywhere. So it's a win, and you need to realize that. And it's not something that's just like within a game. And I understand this too. And I think maybe a lot of people aren't really talking about this, but like Caitlin Clark is antagonistic. Like when you watch her, she's almost like Luka Doncic. She is constantly running her mouth. And listen, I think it's kind of awesome because it's one of those things that these are the most marketable players in the NBA, the guys that talk trash. Like Anthony Edwards, I feel like has been like passed the crown so many times prematurely and be like, we want you to be the face of the NBA. And it just, he can't get the job done in the postseason. So people can't handle it. But people want to see some level of personality with their players. And that's what goes into marketability as well. So it just feels like all the factors are lining up perfectly for Caitlin Clark. Just for the sake of discussion, like who else is in the conversation? Like when it comes to most marketable athletes in the United States, like is it Ohtani? Even though he doesn't speak English, like just because he is an international superstar and obviously he's a generational talent, like who else is even in the conversation? LeBron?
LeBron, certainly. I honestly think too that Travis Kelce is in the conversation because now he has this massive crossover audience, right? Where all these Swifties they love Travis Kelce now. They follow Travis Kelce. So if he does something, they're going to follow that. And also, I know he's not playing any longer, but Shaq, to me, remains one of the most marketable personalities on the planet just because he's so likable and he's such a good dude. Like, whether it's, the General or, Papa John's or Icy Hot. Like, this is just off the top of my head. And I'm sure there are others. Like, Shaq is everywhere because people see him, and he's just so funny. He has a great sense of humor. And being on Inside the NBA has helped that because we've gotten to know him even more. So I think Shaq is certainly up there as well.
Well, and I think people respond to authenticity. Like, doesn't it feel like Shaq is always himself? Yes. I think you can say that about Caitlin Clark because she is not one of those personalities that, like, says a bunch of stuff in the post game. But, like, if you listen to her, she's like very sarcastic and she has a good sense of humor. It's just you kind of have to pay attention. So it's one of those things that I think people can tell when you're trying to portray a character. And it just feels like she's not doing that. She is 100% being herself. She doesn't even have social media, does she? Like, it's wild what she is doing without even that platform, and she doesn't need it.